you'll just see my face, which I'm fine being on YouTube. I mean, don't remix me into some kind of weird techno thing, but we can go through that. Now, as I get Kristen up, I'm gonna go ahead and come on in, grab some pizza. Oh, hey Lucy, you want to grab some pizza? Okay. I was gonna say I've got my business card, so I'm gonna pass these around. Take one if you need one. If you don't know where I am or how to get a hold of me, some of you were given. I was given your contact information from your faculty mentors. Some of you know me. Some of you know where I am. Some of you, I don't want to say stuff for me, but Trisha, I see you a lot. What I have here is an overview of today, of kind of today's observation. Let me see, did I get, Kristen will hopefully pop in here shortly. This is kind of an overview of today's conversation. This gives you the kind of the quick and dirty overview of what Hollings is. How many of you, besides those of you who are holding first and foremost, who all in this room has a Hollings scholarship? Okay, whoops. There we go, we get Kristen. Okay, she's moving to another browser. 1 second. So those of you who have a Hollings scholarship right now, do you want to share how you found out about it? And maybe just a tidbit about your application process.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
What's your name first? I'm Sophie. I found out about it because my mentor freshman year, Dr. Hastings, told me that I should apply for it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, it's the one with all the people on the board. And I was like, cool. All right. And then I did a little bit of research, and I kind of was like, oh, this sounds really cool. And so I was like, I might as well give it a shot. And I think just in terms of the application process, it's just a lot of drafting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That essay is a bear.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information about the essay on the back of the sheet, and I also have some tips and suggestions from individuals who couldn't be here, like Courtney, who is one of our Hollings recipients, who just heard today she's going to American Samoa for her 10-week paid internship with NOAA, which is awesome. And also from Anjali Boyd, who is currently doing some research work up at Duke. So she also sent in some tips that I will be sharing, in addition to the ones that are on here. But that's great. It's draft. And
I'm Nicole. I heard about the Hollings when I toured Eckerd as a junior, so right at the beginning, but I never actually really considered applying for it until my sophomore year. I wasn't sure if I really wanted to go into research, but I would suggest, even if you're not sure if you want to go into research, you should definitely still apply. I think the biggest thing about the application is, I don't know if you're still going to do it this year, but the kind of like
campus deadline?
Yeah,
we're doing it. Yeah.
Deadline. I was really pissed off at it in the beginning. I was very angry at it.
We could what? Last year we instituted a campus deadline of the last week in December, where they had to submit a draft of their essay, and it's not due until the end of January. So a lot of students were like, "Why the heck do I got to get this to you a whole month before?" And
it was really awesome, and it gave me like the whole winter term to draft my essay since I was on campus. Or it's good if you're going on a winter term. It gives you the chance to kind of still get
Hello.
throughout the end of the fall.
hey, Kristen, we're just chit-chatting a bit. I'll introduce you one quick second. So we have
Great. Can you hear me okay?
We can. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
So, excellent. Another point of observation about why and how you applied.
So I'm Jeffrey. I heard about the Hollings Scholarship when I got here my freshman year through like other students and professors, and I applied because I know I want to go into research. I've always liked research. And then while you're applying, I think you just have to do a lot of drafting. That's the big thing. You just talk to people that either have gone through the process or know a lot about the process, because they can help you out a lot and give you a lot of helpful hints and ideas, and or either stuff that you've done that you don't think is relevant, but it could be relevant. So just talk to a lot of people, and they can all help what should be, what you need to bring out in your essay.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great point. And plus, you guys also worked with each other. You as a group, you kind of in the room right now, looking around. You're going to start to work. We do peer sessions, peer review sessions, but even external to this, you will start to reach out to each other. I know that Lucy, you are a senior, and you received the Hollings 2 years ago. So you've got a little. You've come through your research. You're on the other side of it. But the year you applied, there was quite a big group, and we only had 4 that year, so that was a smaller group of winners. Would you echo the same kind of observations?
Yeah, I heard about the Hollings when I toured Eckerd my junior year of high school. And I knew right away that I wanted to apply to it because I really wanted to go into research. I thought the essay was definitely the biggest part for me, and I kind of did what Jeff did and kind of laid out all my experiences and then tried to connect them and worked with my friends and my mentors to help me do that.
Yeah, so you're hearing a lot about drafting. I'm going to hit the pause just real quick so we can introduce you to Kristen. Kristen, I told them a little bit about you in the sense that you've been in their shoes, per se, that you are an Eckerd alum, and that you were a NOAA Hollings Scholar as well as a recipient of other support from NOAA, and that now you work with NOAA. So can you see the whole group? There's.
Hi, everybody. It's great to see you all. And yeah, good luck on your applications. I was a Hollings Scholar in 2007. I did my internship in 2008. I did my internship with NOAA Fisheries at the Pacific Islands Fisheries Science Center doing deepwater coral research. So it was a really exciting experience. I got to do a lot of field work, and it was really a good introduction to research. I pursued my master's in Wilmington after graduating from Eckerd in 2009. And I basically studied oysters and coral reef sponges. The focus of my lab was marine invertebrates and how their filter feeding impacts their environment. So that was my research focus. As a master's student, I became really interested in how research informs policy. So that inspired me to actually come back to NOAA and apply for a Canals Marine Policy Fellowship. And I did that fellowship in 2012, which brought me to the DC area and to NOAA. Since then, I've been working with NOAA. I worked in the Office of Oceanic and Atmospheric Research for a couple of years. And for the past 3 years, I've actually been working with the Office of Education. Since I actually get to work on the Hollings Scholarship Program as well as other programs that NOAA has for education that really make a huge impact on people's lives. Also, the Hollings program, the research that the students are able to conduct every summer really makes a huge impact on what the agency can actually accomplish. And actually seeing that from my position now is pretty cool. Hollings Scholars are very dedicated and do a lot of great work, and it really helps the agency achieve its mission. So I'm excited to hear what you're all thinking about for your applications and questions. I'm definitely here, ready to answer them.
Yeah, and Kristen thank you so much, Kristen. Kristen is a valuable resource in not just in helping us as an institution kind of unpack what Hollings is and how to really help you to target the opportunity, but just to also give you guys some insight into what NOAA does as an organization that connects to your ultimate goal. Because everyone in this room has a passion for issues related to NOAA and the research they're doing. It's finding out how you could work with this organization, and of course the Hollings is the first step. So Kristen, what I was going to do is kind of go over just some basic overview, a basic overview of information, and then kind of open it up to questions and observations, and keep on hearing from some of our current Hollings scholars too. First and foremost, there's been a few changes from last year to this year. One of the notable ones is last year it was 2 letters, both of them from individuals who had taught you. This year they've opened it up to 1 individual that has taught you at the collegiate level and one individual who has supervised your research or has been involved in that academic role, or even who can speak to your capabilities as it speaks to NOAA, which is very different than last year, which was 2 educators at the collegiate level. So that is a difference to make note of, right? This does not mean that you shouldn't pick your professors, but this means you want to pick wisely who's going to support your application. In the past, your human experience professor does know you well, but this might not be the best individual if you have an individual who is participating in field-related work in regards to something like the Hollings. But it might be the best if they can speak to your ability to be part of a team, to be part of an organization, and to be part of a community. So really, the first battle in your mind is who can really write a good letter of support for me. This means that those are the professors that know you, right? The ones that how many of you go to their office hours? Everyone should be going to the office hours and stopping by, even if it's just to say hello or to ask about their research. How many of you Googled or even went to the library and looked at what your professors have published in the last couple of years? Do that. They'll do it for you too. They'll help you with the database. Start to figure out, because that helps to facilitate those letters. The other notable difference is, and this is not a big difference, but this is one that has been codified. It's 3.0, and that is in both cumulative, which is overall GPA, but also in your coursework, right? And that has shifted around a bit from year to year, but this year it's 3.0, which is good for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Good, awesome. The other big part of this too is you need to be a U.S. citizen. You have to be. You can have junior standing. I know some of you are technically juniors, but you're graduating in 2 years, so you're a chronological sophomore. As long as your graduation date is there, it is okay for your credits to show that on there, but it has to be the graduation date. You have to be interested in the work that NOAA is doing, and you have to be able to write about that in regards to the essay. You will see on the back of this form that I've given out, there's some essay tips and suggestions. It's 6,000 and 9,000 characters. I know that doesn't sound too long, but how long is that, individuals that have written them more than once, over and over again?
It's enough.
It's enough?
Is it too?
Yeah, it's like
What?
2 pages.
2 pages, single space.
And I would say it's harder to write a short essay.
Yeah. This one gives you a lot of
It's
runway.
more challenging to fit it all in a short essay.
And the thing is that it is about you. It is who you see yourself as a scholar, as a student, but also as a potential researcher. So those are kind of the general broad strokes of what you need to do to kind of achieve, I guess you'd say, a successful application. What the Hollings provides you is $9,500 worth of scholarship your junior year, $9,500 your senior year, and a 10-week paid internship with the NOAA lab in that summer between your junior and senior year. So if any of you are interested in what could be seen anywhere from $32,000 to $36,000 worth of support plus research experience, then this is something you want to dedicate some time to really focusing on. At this point, are there any general questions about the requirements or about what the Hollings is?
Just for requirements wise, I know there's no like actual research previous.
There's no previous required.
But generally on a people accepted sort of way.
It goes back and forth. I had a student last year who on paper went to a marine science high school, had been doing research since Lassie was a puppy, although you guys probably don't even know who Lassie is. Anyway, since SpongeBob SquarePants was like a wee nugget of a sponge, right? I mean, was on paper like you would look at and be like, there's no way. You know, other students in the room were like, we can't apply if he's applying, like we're never, and his application was not selected, you know? That is always going to be an indicator of your abilities and your capabilities, but it's not going to be the only one. I will say that being able to make a good argument for why you have the chops to do this type of work or this research is going to get you where you want to be. Would you guys, as my current scholars, echo that as far as what you saw with when you went to the sessions? and you met other Hollings scholars from other schools. Would you echo that type of feedback, or did you see something a little bit different?
I saw most people having some kind of research.
Mhm.
Might not have been at the collegiate level, but something that indicated that they had known what they're getting into and that they wanted to do that.
Okay, good.
And I think also if they didn't have specific research that they had done in the past, they certainly had goals for the future of I want to do this.
Mm. So they've done their research on the NOAA's website, knew what labs were doing research, were able to integrate it in their essay, kind of speak a little bit about it. All of you guys did that in your essays, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would also say, like, honestly, don't freak out if you haven't done research. Like, still apply, even if you've done volunteering or just honestly anything out of the classroom. I would add in, like, I think I put down in my essay that when I was like 13, I had a birthday party and I took my friends to like a scuba dive shop and we dove in their pool. Like, I put that in my essay. So, yeah, I think honestly anything like in your personal life, in your academic life, research life, anything like that that pertains to why you should be chosen, you can put in there.
That brings to mind too, one of the best places to start the essay is to do what I like to call a data dump, and just basically open up your computer, put a piece of paper over the screen so that you can't see what you're typing, don't allow yourself to backspace or erase, and just start saying, this is why I want to be involved, this is how I should be involved. You know, when I was 13, I had a birthday party. When I was 12, I got invested in this, you know, this kind of, I guess you'd say, film series, and it pulled me in. I still remember yours talking about trash on the beach, right? Like the weirdest, and just data dump it out. Like just, and if you need to like have an organization, dump out everything that's academic on one page or one document, then dump out everything that's research, and then dump out everything that's just tangential. Think about awards that you've won, scholarships, teams, organized activities that you've been part of, publications.
Yeah, I would definitely,
Yeah, go ahead,
I would
Kristen.
definitely say, even if you don't have a lot of research experience, definitely talk about service you've done, activities you've participated in, especially if they're environmental activities, and leadership experience, and just make sure you explain how that's relevant to the program. It doesn't have to be research; it can be any of those activities that you get involved in beyond your regular coursework.
Yeah, and so those service hours, the reflective service learning that you're doing, all of that kind of fits into the texture that is your application. And the other thing that kind of comes in with this too is have some of this written down for your letter writers, because you don't just want to pop into their office and be like, hey, I really need this letter for Hollings, can you write it? Because the other thing, just FYI, and it says on here, and the faculty knows this too, right? Their letters are due the 19th. So that's in the middle of winter term. So you can't, one of the reasons we do the campus deadline of the first Friday in December is because if they are doing a winter term trip, they may not have Wi-Fi, right? And so you want to make sure they get these letters of support in to Hollings well before the deadline. Now, your deadline as applicants is January 31st, right? And that's a hard deadline. It's not a soft one. Doesn't move around. It's that deadline. So you want to hit that. But this means that you probably want to start now, right? Starting to think about what can I write and how can I write it. So that's a great question, Sadie. What are some other observations, questions, connections with this, with what we've talked about, and also maybe what you brought to this session tonight? Nobody has any questions? Not even for Kristen? Yeah, Herbert?
You mentioned like not really not being sure if you want to go into research. Are they going to look for like really making it clear that you want to go into research? Like that's kind of a requirement.
I didn't quite hear the question.
Oh, the question is, the tension between making it very apparent about research, about not knowing if you want to go into research or not. I mean, I'll do a quick answer, and then I'm going to let Kristen answer. NOAA is also about education and conservation. So it's not just an arm of research only driven, I guess you'd say, experiences. But if you're, as Kristen mentioned about policy, if you are interested in those bridges too, then having a desire to do research could open up those avenues also, which is why I don't think it's just completely research oriented. It also has those other complexions. What would you say to that, Kristen?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I don't know exactly what your interests are, but NOAA's mission is pretty broad, and there's a large operational side of NOAA as well. There's education, conservation focused work. Explore that and put that into your essay. That work for NOAA that aren't bench scientists. And so I'd definitely do your research to see all the different possibilities, and you can add that to your essay.
And the mission statement's a great place to start. I know many of you last year looked at the mission statement for your different areas, or the year before, looked at your mission statement and kind of used that, picked up their vocabulary, and also used it as a way to think about, like, honestly, what they wanted to do. Not just with Hollings, but what you wanted to do with your experience here at Eckerd, right? Because that's ultimately what we're hoping you get out of something like the Hollings, is that it puts you into that next level and that next area where you start to think about, like Lucy, I'm assuming graduate school is where you are now thinking. And that probably helped to form as a basis not just of the research that you did with NOAA, but also with the exposure you had to education, conservation, and other arms of NOAA. But that's a good point to mention, right? Do your research. Look at the website. Become very familiar and conversant with all the arms of NOAA. It's huge. It's not just fisheries. It's not just weather. There's so much more than what you might just automatically assume, and that's why I encourage anyone and everyone to do a bit more than just kind of looking. And you need to do it for your essay, because you need to. And everyone will mention. I'm assuming I'm looking around and I'm remembering most of your essays. All of you mentioned either specific researchers you wanted to work with, or you mentioned specific labs, or specific initiatives that were happening through NOAA, and you definitely want to be able to do that. That shows that you're already like part of their team.
Exactly, and no one's going to hold you to that as well. I mean, you're all sophomores, your interests will shift and change over time as you have research experiences and take courses. So it's not like if you write about ocean acidification and then, you get into the program and next year you decide you want to do education and outreach instead. Like, that's fine. But you just want to address in your essay, like, what you'd like to do as of right now and how that connects with what you've done so far.
Yeah. Other observations, comments?
I mean, the other thing too is some of the internships aren't even necessarily super science focused. So I know that multiple people have done work like with social media and communications for the Weather Service and things like that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like strictly in a lab setting.
Yeah.
Can we hear more about the internship opportunities that people experience? Like, what kind of things did you guys do?
You guys are picking them out right
Yeah,
now.
we're kind of in the process of going.
But there's so many. There's like 300 options for undergrads
Well,
in the database.
What happens, just to let you know, if you receive the Hollings, you are made aware, right? They notify you, and then you attend a session, normally at the end of May or in June. Yeah, I know last year was a little bit late. Everyone was a little bit nervous, including Kristen. We were all like a little bit like, but you get notified, and then you attend a kind of a seminar, a symposium of sorts, where you meet the other Hollings scholars, and there's 126. There was last year, right?
It depends every year based on, but it's 1/10 of 1% of NOAA's budget. So it varies every year based on NOAA's budget, but it's like an average, I would say, of 125.
And you meet everyone who has the opportunity. It's a funded trip. They pay for you to go there. Not to fly in from Morocco, but but they will help you to get to this symposium. And then during that session, you meet others. You get also exposed to what NOAA is, right? And then so talk a little bit about that, I guess, what that looks like.
Basically, you go into an auditorium and every single branch of NOAA comes in and tells you about all the different opportunities that they have. And sometimes they'll talk about specific things that scholars have done in the past, but also kind of just goals that they have moving forward.
Like people know about like the fisheries and the weather service, but there's so much more that people don't know about. I learned so much in the 2 days I was there, and it was like a crash course of like this is everything you can do with NOAA. And there were so many people that I knew or met there, and they had an idea of what they wanted to do, and then they learned about this whole other field that they weren't aware of before they got there, and then they're like, okay, now I want to go do that. So.
And you had a similar experience, Lucy?
Yeah, it's also really great for networking too. A lot of the people that I met there, I knew friends of theirs who I'd worked with, and it was a great time to see like what everyone was doing, where they wanted to go.
Then when you come home from that, you kind of hit the pause button a little bit, and then that's the summer between sophomore and junior year. And then in the fall, usually around September 1st, you get access to the mentor database, which is all the research opportunities, all the opportunities that they have. And then you start jockeying and figuring out who you can work with, which I think you guys are probably in the middle of that right now, right? How many, you guys have placements yet? No?
It's narrowed down.
It's narrowed down. You have interviews, yeah. So then you go through that process, and then once you find your place, your space, then you go and you set up usually a site visit where you figure out your housing and things like that. And then you go the summer between your junior and your senior year. And Lucy, you went this year. Where did you go, and what was it like?
I went to Miami, but I actually started in Mexico. I was part of a research cruise that went from Mexico to Miami over 2 weeks, and it was a lot of fun. We collected iconic larvae of bluefin tuna, and then when we got back to the lab, I got to pick what I wanted to do specifically within larvae, and I chose blue marlin. And so I was dissecting the otoliths, which are the ear bones from larval blue marlin, and creating an age growth curve. Really fun.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty good. Applying to grad school.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, and then when in many of these instances, these projects become part of publications, become part of a career path that the student then becomes part, I guess you'd say, part of that community and that conversation that's been going on about bluefin tuna and the age progressions. The other thing too that you'll do is it could also combine to, if you want to do a thesis, if you've been talking with your mentor about doing a thesis, sometimes the research will dovetail into that. We have had, you're probably also thinking about Ford Scholarship, the apprentice program. Some students have used the NOAA research as part of their Ford initiatives and their Ford research, I guess you'd say, platform, depending on how that looks. But it really is a holistic experience, and you can see why there's such an excitement when it comes to, like, you probably heard about it when you got on campus, like as prospective students, that it's such an amazing opportunity as an undergrad. Like, you're doing graduate level work, or being exposed to graduate level initiatives, whether it's social media or research. So it is an amazing experience. So thank you guys for sharing that. Kristen, is from your insight, like from someone that now works with, I guess you'd say you've been through the progression, you've been where they are, and beyond. What tips or suggestions would you give them for their application and maybe for their essay?
Sure. So I know that we've touched upon this before, but definitely do your research about the different parts of NOAA and NOAA's mission, and be able to tie what you've done and what your career goals are with that mission. I think that's really important, especially, there are sort of some academic parts of marine science that you might be really excited about, but you kind of have to answer the question of, why is this important to society? Why is this important to conservation? Or why is this important to the economy? Since those are the sorts of things that a government agency like NOAA really thinks about. I would say make sure you're addressing those questions when you talk about the type of research or you'd like to get involved with. And I would say, overall, the data dump to talk about everything you've done. I think that would be a really helpful starting point. definitely make sure you focus on what you bring to the program, from the different activities that you've pursued and, maybe research that you've been involved with so far. And try to make it unique as well. I know it's a little bit of a challenge, but typically the reviewers might be reviewing like 10 applications or so each. So if you can, put something in there that really makes yours stand out, as well.
And I think that's a key point, is that this isn't a summary of who you are. It's not just a listing of your classes and your experiences. This needs to be an argument for why you're the best candidate for something like this. So you want it to kind of come off the page, just like any other high stakes writing. And some of you probably haven't written a high stakes essay since your college admissions essay. So getting yourself back in that mindset, you don't do it cold. The first essay you're going to write is going to be cheesy, like really cheesy, like a non-vegan cheese, like really cheesy. And you're going to read it and cringe, right? And you're not going to, so don't put this off, right? Start early and start thinking about those unique qualities. The things like I had a birthday party at a scuba tank, like that's unique, right? I remember Brittany Evans, who's from like the middle of nowhere in Georgia. And she wrote about the fact that she was from the middle of nowhere in Georgia, right? And that she had no idea that this stuff existed outside of some fossils that she found when she was a kid, right? Until she got to go to the Florida or the Atlanta aquarium, right? And she saw this whale shark. Is that what's? Yeah, okay. So, and she saw this, right? And she was like, holy kitty cats. I'm paraphrasing, right? So think about those things and give yourself enough runway that it's not rushed. Use your mentors, the ones that know you and know you well, whether they're your professors. I see Sadie's looking at me like, have we come to see? Okay. Leverage those people that have been part of your experience, that have insight into you, because they're going to look at it and go like, why didn't you say this? Right? And realize that you are going to be reviewed by 3 independent panelists. Normally they do give some feedback. Some feedback's better than other feedback. I don't know if you guys receive feedback on your essays or... Yeah, Lucy, what did they say on yours? Good job. She got some thumbs up. So you do get some feedback. What we've heard in the past that works is kind of starting in the middle of things, right? Not like listing chronologically, but starting with an action, giving a little bit about your past, maybe talking a little bit about high school experiences or others, then going into what you're doing here at Eckerd, and then maybe exploring kind of your connection to NOAA. But that's just a structure. That's not a rule. There's no template for this. You're not going to find it. You don't need
It's definitely a...
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. It's definitely a persuasive writing exercise. And I would say most simply, it's what you bring to the table and what you bring to this program, and then what this program could do for you and how you want to take advantage of it and leverage it for your future career.
And the other kind of part of this too is that this should probably become part of your, if you are going to be applying for NSF REUs, like the research experience for undergrads, particularly for your sophomore summer, this can become part of that collection of documents like your resume, your CV, any of your personal statements, all that good stuff. You should probably create a file and kind of have that at your disposal so that you can pull it up. I know that many of you also, like Lucy, how many REUs did you apply for as a sophomore? 10, yeah. And so a lot of the things though that you were doing, you were pulling from other writing samples and things like that. So you can definitely do that. I guess you'd say the other big thing is we will be having a peer review workshop on the 27th of November, which is a Monday, where I'll ask everyone probably to submit their drafts either electronically or at least bring in something so that we can kind of do some workshopping. But I urge you, I don't even want to say I urge you, I just want to let you know my door is open. You can always email me and create appointments. I usually workshop with students quite a bit. Drafts will come to me. I will send comments electronically. I'll do like screen captures. even when you're not on campus, and do a lot of that. I know that I'm one of the resources you can use. You can use other resources though too. The Writing Center is a good place also, and just kind of give yourself enough time and space. Which is, I'm just going to get on a little soapbox here. Give yourself an hour each week for professional development. Just block out a side, just like you would for working out, or well, maybe not for doing anything too physical, because you guys are on like Wounded Knee.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, but giving yourself like an hour a week where you can just go and look at NSF REUs, where you could do a little bit of this, and then if you give yourself now another extra hour for Hollings, then that's going to be a lot easier to do, like 10 weeks, to do 10 hours than to try to do 10 hours in a weekend, right? But on this, you should probably be spending, for the initial draft, I'd say 3 to 5 hours a week, and then once you start revising it, that will go back and forth. Now that's quantity of time. That doesn't mean quality of work. It's not writing 200 drafts isn't going to afford you a victory any more than writing for 20 hours is going to afford it. It's about what you do with that quality of time too. How would you agree with that, guys? I mean, you've set behind this as far as time on task, things that you
I
do.
certainly worked on it. I don't know if I worked on it every week. I certainly worked on it every other week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote like 7 or 8 drafts before I was ready to submit.
Yeah.
And everybody I knew read it.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm pretty sure my parents even got sick
Yep.
of me sending them draft after draft, and they were like, we haven't even read the last one you sent, and you're sending us out one.
Well, good. I know that you, Kristen, did you have to step out a little bit, or are you okay?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay.
I definitely agree with that too. I think that's a really good recommendation. Okay, so who's following Noah Education on social media?
Okay. Who is it? Okay,
Yay,
there's like
people.
4 hands.
Okay, if you want some examples of internships that students have done, that's a really great resource as well. We've been posting photos and stories of students and their internship projects. So definitely follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And I think that will help you see what opportunities are out there as well.
Good. Other questions, comments, observations? No? You guys, a lot of you are like, feel like you, a lot has been thrown at you, right? I'm sure you will have questions, or you'll have things that come up. Please do reach out to me. Everyone that's on the, are you all on the email that came out for the Evite? If you're not, send me a heads up so I can get you on there, because what I will do is I've been recording this, and I will be sending it out to everybody and posting it on my YouTube channel, so that you can take a look and a listen to it, just in case like you get home and you're like, I know I took a note, but I don't remember what the heck a data dump is, right? So you can kind of go back through it. Also, this will be another way that if you want to connect with each other, that we can also have that as a space that you could, of course, be respectful of your peers' time, but they might be happy to say, hey, yes, over for a wrap, I will read your essay, or for a Starbucks, I will go ahead and look at, I'm not saying to bribe you all with food or caffeine, but it works, does it not? Yeah. And really, at the end of the day, it's about enjoying this process and using it as a parcel of investigating why you want to do this type of work. So, and Kristen is also a resource. I'm usually very respectful of her time. I will reach out to her when we have issues or questions. But she's one of the gems that we have. Of course, she's been here, so we do really respect her time. But I will not be forwarding your essays to Kristen, so don't send them to Kristen. I'm assuming that you do not want to evaluate a ton of essays.
Well, I don't think I can.
Yeah.
Conflict of interest.
Yeah. So we do not put her in that position. But if there are things that come up, let me know. Keep the conversation going, and really look around the room right now and know that these are not just your peers for right now, but they're going to be your group that are hopefully You're going to be moving up into maybe the Goldwater, possibly the NSFRUs, other things that you're going to be bouncing things off of. And who knows, in 10 or 15 years, you might be colleagues at NOAA or
Absolutely.
other capacities, right?
I'll talk to friends from Eckerd and from the Hollings program that are in the same field as colleagues today. So it's definitely true. It's a small field.
And these are the people you're competing against, but you're also competing with, right? And remember that with, because you guys will help each other kind of build up too. Well, Kristen, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. I'll send
Thank
you
you
a
for
copy
having
of the recording too, so that you can take a look and listen to it.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Good luck, everybody.
Thank you.
So good. Okay, let me shut the recording off.